Okay, welcome everybody to the February edition of the Community Office Hours for Thunderbird. We are going to have an exciting topic today, and that is add-ons. And if you don't know what add-ons are, you certainly learn. Um, so our guest is John here. He's our resident expert to answer all of our questions and shed light on some cool things that's maybe going to happen in the next ESR.
Thanks for
Um,
having me.
yeah. Um, so just to get to know you a little bit better, John, can you tell us how you got started in like the Thunderbird community?
I think the first contact with Thunderbird was at the university when I've got my university email account and a Linux system. So there was Thunderbird pre-installed, and that's where I first ever had contact with open source software. Um, yeah, that was I think Thunderbird 2 or 3. Um, so yeah, it's some time ago. Um, yeah, then it took like I think 2013 or something like that. I was working for a company who had tons of contacts, and they needed to group them in categories. And Thunderbird didn't have an option to group contacts by multiple categories. So I wrote my first add-on for that. And that was the category manager add-on. And I got stuck ever since.
Is that still an add-on you maintain out of
Yes.
curiosity? Yeah,
Yeah.
nice.
Cool. Well, that actually kind of gets into our next question of how long have you been involved? And so that makes it 11 years. Can you tell us how many add-ons have you made since then?
Oh, the category manager, my TV Sync add-on,
Hmm.
I took over quick text and I maintain that. And with the community, I took over, or we took over, edit email subject. So that's 4 add-ons then.
That's really impressive, to have the one you started with, but then the ones that you and the community took on, which is great to keep add-ons that otherwise,
Yeah.
the maintainer wouldn't have been able to keep going. Yeah. So do you have, I know it's like asking about a favorite child, but do you have a favorite add-on of your four?
Quick text, because I use it every day. It's specifically when are working in support, there are many questions which are coming all over the time, and you don't have to rewrite the exact same sentence. So you have just a button which you can click, and the email is pre-filled with all the information, and you just add a personal note and then send it away. So yeah, I use that every day. So that's my favorite one. Yeah.
Awesome.
And since you're so intimately involved with the add-ons process in general, can you just kind of paint us a quick picture of what the add-on development process is like?
I think there is no general approach to this. When I started, I just looked at other add-ons. So there were add-ons which basically worked in the same area of Thunderbird, so in the address book at the time. So I looked at other add-ons which also did stuff in the address book, and then just adapted and learned how they do things, and then developed some knowledge about how add-ons work in general. I think that was the only way back then, because there wasn't any documentation or getting started guides. Um, but I think still today, even if we have those things now, it's a common practice to just take other add-ons and look at them.
Yeah, that makes sense. Good examples.
Yeah. So, how many add-on developers, active add-on developers are there right now?
I crunched the numbers today, and we have 250 active developers. That means 250 add-on developers touched their add-on last year. So that's the number.
That's pretty good. So, and I guess on the flip side of that, do you have an idea of how many kind of active add-ons there are to kind of orphaned add-ons that there are?
Yeah, wait a second. I have a small slide somewhere. Okay, so those are numbers from today, and those are the numbers of add-ons which work in the respective version. So we have about 1,000 add-ons which are not compatible, but that doesn't mean they are all stale because most of them have successor add-ons or newer versions, but a different add-on developer. So there is one number you can look at, that's the compatible add-ons for 60, which I didn't have put on the slide for some reason, which is 600. So from that number, you could probably say we have 100 to 200 stale add-ons which got lost in the process of updating to newer versions of Thunderbird. And I have those numbers for the individual releases. And you can see in 78, that's before I got onboarded, we lost 98 add-ons. And then I was able to get that number down. Unfortunately, in 115, there was an event which caused a lot of other add-ons to be incompatible, which is due to the rewrite of the message list. A lot of add-ons used experimental code to hook into that area, and they were not able to update. I'm still in contact with those, and I'm pretty sure that we can get that number down as well. But currently, that's the number of add-ons we lost to 115.
Thanks so much for kind of painting a picture of what the add-ons space is like and how they kind of, some do get left behind because of rewrites, which makes sense. But it's impressive that you've managed to keep that fairly small, I think. A question a little bit more technical. Is there like a common language used for writing add-ons, or is it anything goes?
It's standard JavaScript. So writing add-ons is with the new web extension concept. It's more like writing web pages. So that's all the skills you need if you know how to write a web page with JavaScript, HTML, and CSS. Then you're good to go to write add-ons. That's a really, so what I can see in new developers, that we have a lot of new developers for web extensions because it's so easy to get started. While the old developers who were used to the legacy approach, where they hook directly into the code from Thunderbird, that's a different kind of programming, and you had to look at Thunderbird code to write add-ons. And that was really, really difficult. Also, when I started my first add-on, I really had to look at the Thunderbird code because I actively had to change Thunderbird code with my add-ons. And with the new approach, you don't need all of that. All you need is the API documentation, so you know what functions you can use, and then just write an add-on the way you would write a web page. So yeah, that's very easy.
Okay, yeah, there's a follow-on question in the chat about Python framework, but Danny just answered it.
We're just super helpful people in the chat there.
Thanks, Danny.
Yeah, thanks, Danny.
Yeah. So I know if Heather, are we ready to move on to the next question?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, especially since Danny answered that question and was super awesome. I know one of the things that comes up a lot is that sometimes when we have updates to Thunderbird, that it breaks some of the add-ons. So are there any plans to kind of improve that transition experience?
So I need to give some some background on this. So why do add-ons break? The reason is that we support two different mechanisms of writing add-ons. The first one is the modern one, which we call web extensions, and that uses a stable API. So the core team, which is me, is making sure that the functions add-on authors use work. So when the next version of Thunderbird comes out, the add-ons do not have to be changed because the functions they are using are stable. So if you write a pure web extension, your add-on does not break. That's the core concept of these web extensions. When web extensions were introduced, Firefox decided to completely cut off the old way of writing add-ons. That caused a huge backlash back then, and we decided to not do that. So we kept this old way of programming enabled, which helped us to keep a lot of add-ons going. We kept those legacy add-ons, the support for legacy add-ons enabled. And currently, I get the numbers, hold on a second. So from the 416 add-ons we currently have, 130 are using this legacy approach. And they would be dead if Thunderbird had decided to not support that technology. If add-on authors do not update their legacy add-ons, they break with the next version of Thunderbird. So what I do is that I'm reaching out to these developers and help them to convert or update their add-on for the next version. But I cannot force them, of course. So if an add-on developer is not responding or we're having issues, then there's not much I can do. What I try to do is to create as many web extension APIs, which I can see are needed, and then help these developers to completely move from the legacy world to the web extension world. And that's like 50% of my job, to get these add-ons from using the legacy approach to the web extension approach. And as soon as we have all our all our add-ons using the web extension technology, we have no more breaking add-ons. So Firefox did the short way. They just disabled this technology path, so they didn't have any more breaking add-ons, but we had.
Is the legacy way always going to be supported?
From our side, yes.
Yes.
But we are depending on code from Firefox.
Gotcha.
And if they completely remove that feature, then we can't do much. I mean, we can always lobby for not doing that,
Sure.
and I would try to do that. But if there are reasons beyond our power, then and they remove it, then yeah.
Gotcha. Thank you very much for that, like, kind of overview of how some of the architecture has changed and influenced those add-ons.
Yeah, and we've got a question from Danny too that I think is related, that there's an extension of web extension called mail extension. So what's the process to get a new API added and standardized so they can work even if we chance things in core later? I think that might be change things.
The term mail extension just refers to web extensions which are added by me. So they're only working in Thunderbird. The web extension technology itself is a browser technology, so you can have it in Chrome, you can have it in Firefox. But of course, APIs that are related to reading emails will not work anywhere but in Thunderbird. So I call those extensions, those APIs, mail extensions. But it's just a term. It doesn't really have a deeper meaning. I didn't get the part about standardization. Maybe Danny can rephrase that.
Okay, we can wait for him to put that in chat. Heather, while he does that, do you want to go to the next question?
So what would you say, John, are the some of the greatest challenges for the add-on developer space?
It's the transition from the old technology to the new technology, because the concepts are so different that it's not always possible to do it right away. You have to rethink what your add-on is doing. You have to think about different ways to approach similar things. But to have it one-to-one converted is mostly not possible. And it's a time-consuming task. I mean, add-on developers are mostly not paid. They do it in their free time. And asking someone who is doing that as a hobby to invest this much of time to get it moved on to a different technology, that's a big thing to ask. And what I did and continue to do is to write pull requests to repositories where I see that a popular add-on doesn't need much to get converted, but I get it the kickstarting. So I do that and just do the conversion for them. That's one thing. And then there is something that, yeah, maybe it's so technical, but in the modern JavaScript architecture, we use promises. That is a asynchronous way of programming. And it's a very, once you understood it, it's a great concept, but you have to get to know it. And new developers or engineers which are coming from the university, they are used to that concept. It's the normal thing now. But the older developers, which are the ones having legacy add-ons, they really have problems with these promises and these asynchronous functions. And we are talking about this very, very often in chat, in topic box. This is one of the most asked questions, how to work with promises. Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Monica, you wanna take the next one? You're muted.
Okay. I just wanted to go back. It looked like Danny left a comment. And he says that I meant that they are developed in a way that they won't break and that they won't change and won't break in future releases of Thunderbird.
Okay, that's the definition of a web extension API. So when I add an API, then it's my duty to make sure that that API is not breaking. So if an add-on starts to use that API, that add-on should work for the foreseeable future without the add-on developer having to touch it. Of course, that's not always the case. Sometimes Thunderbird makes fundamentally internal changes, and I'm just not able to do that. This has not happened yet, but it's a scenario that could happen. And then I would reach out to all those developers and tell them, hey, this function has a different behavior now, and we need to make some changes. But that is not the same on the same level as the breakage we see from experimental add-ons. Yeah.
All right, awesome. Well, thank you. And Danny, thank you for putting that clarification forward. So we're going to kind of switch from technical questions now to kind of more about how add-ons fit into kind of the broader Thunderbird community. And so my first question is if you are a new add-on developer, you think of something like, man, I really want Thunderbird to be able to do this. How can a new developer get involved and get started?
I created a tutorial. So on the main developer page, which is developer.thunderbird.net, there is a add-on section. And that add-on section has a step-by-step guide and has even a how-to example add-on, which goes through all the different steps you need to create your first add-on. And from that, it's just trying out and asking questions in the different channels we have. So we have the topic box community channel, we have the matrix room for asking questions, and we have a weekly meeting where developers can join and ask questions in a 90-minute, or usually it's 90-minute Zoom call. And those are the options new developers have to get started.
And that actually is a great part, great way to introduce the next question, that in that call, where people can just drop in and ask questions, what are some of the things that kind of frequently get brought up there?
Currently, it's most of the time how to convert certain things. So we just go through, we look at add-ons, or the developer says he has a problem with something, and then we brainstorm how to solve this issue. Sometimes I get tasks which I look at company time and then talk about it in the next meeting. It's basically any question related to add-on development. There is no common pattern like that. It's just a meeting of people who talk about add-ons, and the people who are there define what we talk about. If there are no open questions, sometimes I present topics. For example, one thing I pushed in the meeting was we have something that is called a featured add-on. That is an add-on. When you go to Thunderbird add-ons, there's a recommendations list. And for example, I use the meeting to create rules how add-ons can get into that list. And we also look at add-ons which are candidates for being featured. So sometimes I do that, or sometimes I have a new API I'm working on, and then ask the people who are in the meeting for feedback, or actually try it out and see how if it does what they expect it to do. So it's a exchange between different developers on any topic. And sometimes even not add-on related, that happens.
Thunderbird people getting sidetracked? Never.
No.
That would never happen. No. Well, thank you.
Thelio put a couple of good questions in the chat here. So the first one is it desired, and how easy is it to get add-on code into Thunderbird Core, especially in the context of broken but great add-ons? The concept of web extensions makes it sound like simply converting add-on code to Thunderbird code is not possible. It would require a different skill set, right? I also know how difficult policy setting can be, but have there been cases of Thunderbird deciding on an add-on has grown too important, but their developer has left or died, and Thunderbird took it over?
That have been multiple questions now.
Yeah, that's all under the one.
Okay, I will try to break that down. Is that the question from?
It's in the chat. Yeah, if you want to pick some pieces to tackle there.
Yeah, is it desired, and how easy is it to get add-on code into Thunderbird? So web extension code will not at all be able to be moved into Thunderbird. It's a completely different technology. And it's the idea that you don't have to know Thunderbird code in order to write add-ons. So that's a consequence that you cannot move add-on code into Thunderbird because it's completely different technology. There are, of course, add-ons which people use to for example, wait a second, what's the add-on called? Axel, do you know the name of the add-on which can sort folders in the tree?
Folder. Yeah, I know the add-on, but manual folders, manual sort folders. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a top add-on which had, I don't know, 20,000 users or even more, and the developer did not want to continue it. And then we started to implement that as a function directly in Thunderbird. So that's a process that can happen. Actually, the current maintainer is doing the work, actually, if I'm not right. Yeah, the current maintainer is working on adding the functionality to Thunderbird Core. So that's the usual thing that can happen if a developer doesn't want to continue the add-on but wants to have the functionality, then he adds it to Thunderbird or asks the team to add it to Thunderbird. But it's not a very common thing to happen because in general, we look at add-ons as an addition to Thunderbird. It's not everybody wants to have that feature. And if we add all the add-on features to Thunderbird, then it's just way too many options in there. So the idea is that users can select the features they want by adding the add-ons they want. Yeah.
May I ask a question? Just to that, might Thelot E have meant it in a way that, you have the concept of experimental APIs. So if we would write an API, an experimental one, then the API could go into the official mail APIs. That's another way to approach it.
I don't know if that was the question. The concept of an experimental API, so the thing currently legacy add-ons are using, is to create an API which can be merged into Thunderbird. But I have not received any code.
It's hard to formalize. It is hard to formalize. I mean, first of all, you would have to pick a niche. For instance, for me, just an example, I'm not sure, do we have a filters API? That's a really mail-centric concept. Yeah. So one could imagine writing one of those, an API that just deals with filters only.
But in order to do that, you first have to take the Thunderbird code and make it ASIC, which is not easy.
Exactly.
Okay, thanks.
It's hard to talk about these things without getting technical.
Yeah, that's true.
I think it's okay to get a little technical. I think this meeting is designed to be viewed by people that are technical and, answer some questions for those that are not so technical.
Mm-hmm.
Can I tell you from my perspective as an add-on developer what I do, because I'm still one foot in the new world and 1 foot in the old world, and obviously code breaks. At the moment it breaks every year, so it's predictable and we can prepare for it by testing with a beta version and seeing what functionality was removed. But it's not something that our users have to suffer from, because they can just use the normal ESR version, so they are safe from this change. And so we're trying to find solutions to reprogram what we did in the legacy world, in the new world. And the other thing is we have to look at the Thunderbird core code, which is also the front-end code, which is JavaScript. So that's what I do. I look at how do they solve their problems, and then I copy code and use the functions from there. But obviously, they can change the functions. There's no contract that says we cannot rename a function or retire an attribute or something. So that's what makes it complicated. But it's not impossible, because it's all open, open source. You can read the code and you can basically copy stuff from there. For me, it's almost too easy because I'm kind of used reading that code. But it is a lot of code. I think it's over a gigabyte, whereas the APIs are a lot more constrained, which is good.
But Axel is very active and working on his add-on the entire year. But we have the release cycle in summer, and many add-on developers are not available in summer because they're on vacation. So even if I reach out to them advanced through the ESR release, they think, I can do it later. And then they are on vacations, and then they only fix it after the release. So that's why we have this first scenario after the release that so many add-ons break from the experimental add-ons, because the add-on developers didn't get the change in time. But as the more add-ons we can move from the legacy world to the web extension world, the less this is going to happen.
Yeah, I think it's one of the answers to that is you just get more American developers who don't take vacations. So sorry about that. It's just like summer vacations. What's that? All right. Heather, are we still on question 3?
Yeah. So the next question I kind of had for you, John, was I know you'd talked about some of the main struggle really is like porting stuff over to support the legacy framework. But what about someone that's new that kind of wants to get involved? Where's the best way that they can help out? I think asking someone to kind of come up to speed on all of that is a really big ask. So what's the kind of number one way that a new person to come and help out?
So as being part of the community and contribute. So
Yeah.
the number one thing would be in support. I think on Topic Box there are 5 active developers who help out with questions. That's a good place to start and share your experience. Or when someone asks a question, if you can answer that, you have an idea how to solve the issue, then that would be helpful. I'm going through Topic Box like once a week and answer all the questions which are open. But if someone else took the question before me, that would help me a lot. And the other thing is documentation. I think the documentation we currently have is good, but of course, I'm looking at it through my own eyes. I've written it, so of course I think it's good. But I'm not getting much feedback, or I'm not getting much negative feedback, so I don't know if there's anything missing. And yeah, if developers want to contribute, that would be a very good area where we could improve if there are things to improve. But everything else really needs technical insights to the Thunderbird code. So when we start talking about fixing bugs in the web extension API, that is really difficult code if you are a new developer. So I think that is not something a new developer can dive in, actually.
No, I think that's a good point. Support is always a great place to start helping out on any open source project. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Thanks.
And also docs. Docs are really great to make sure that there's good documentation and that the docs that are there are actually helpful. And that's, I think, a thing where people who are new will catch so many things that people who have been in the project for 10, 20 years will miss because they just know that in their heads. And then the person who's new, who's like, there's like a whole series of steps here that is just not in the docs, but everybody seems to know what they're doing. So that's also super helpful. So I know that this is something that this has kind of come up in a couple answers that maintaining that these are all labors of love done by people in their spare time. And so what are some of the best ways that you've seen, both as an add-on developer and somebody who is, who your job is to help add-on developers? How do we help creators and maintainers in our community avoid burnout? Like stay happy, stay informed, feel respected, and also feel empowered. And this has come up a couple times too, to hand off an add-on if they know they're not going to be able to maintain it for the future.
Those are delicate questions, actually. I know that we have a small number of unfriendly users that's just how things are, and they do place negative comments on add-ons, which can be really harmful. I go through the review list, so add-on developers can mark a review as bad, and then it will be removed. And I'm going through that list every second day to get that off of their list. But I don't have an answer to that. Add-on developers just need to keep their add-on development as a hobby, and do not make it their primary objective in life, because then you start to feel pressured by users that you have to implement the feature, and then that's not healthy. So I always say, write the add-on for yourself, write it for your use case, because that's why you wrote the add-on. You found something broken or missing in Thunderbird and you want to have it improve your workflow. And that's your main goal. Write it for yourself. And if there are other users which are also happy because it fits their workflow, then that's an extra gain. But don't start working for your users. That's a paid environment, and that's not what add-ons should do. That's why I'm also, for example, when I see in other discussions, not on reviews, but elsewhere, and I see that users complain about breaking add-ons, I always try to remind them that these add-on developers are mostly working for free in their spare time. And what will happen is that they will just quit.
Yeah.
And that's not what the user wants.
Maybe, yeah. I feel
I
I have to say something because you're obviously not talking for me. I may be the exception that proves the rule, but I am actually living off the add-on. I'm actually monetizing my add-ons. They are free to use, but I add freemium content, so extra functions, because what I experienced was I had a few people who gave really big donations, and I didn't want them to pay for everybody else. So I said I'll do a different way, and I tried that. I followed the model of Ken James, who wrote a lot of add-ons that stop with Quilla. So they were actually taken over because he retired from the whole business. And it's kind of hard because I was hoping that, I was an add-on reviewer as well, and there was a marketplace. I was hoping that we would get a monetization, monetizable model like we had with Chrome, but it seems to go the opposite way, So I would agree that it can be frustrating if you work for free and then you just get criticism and you get demands. I think it also depends on the complexity of the task. Thunderbird itself is a hugely complex piece of work, so it has to ask for donations or it needs to fundraise in some way. And I think that sometimes I feel that users believe, oh, there's always a big, large corporation behind every piece of software anyway, so everything is free because it's ultimately paid by juggernaut like Google or Mozilla or Microsoft or IBM or something. So there's this. I think that's a bit of a problem because not only did I have to implement the monetization, but also do a lot of the education, telling my users, well, it's actually not just free as in beer, free as in freedom means you can look at all the source code, you can suggest stuff, I will curate your suggestions, you can give me bugs, I will fix them. So there's a dialogue, and then to me, it's like keeping the add-on alive is a service, and that's what the payment is for. In my mind, it's just hard to to give to the users, because they say, "Why would I?" So my monetization is annually because I have to rewrite the add-on kind of annually, not rewrite, but I have to put in a few weeks of work, maybe, and then I keep what I do is I give all my users free support directly, can email me directly from the add-on. And I give them support basically within 24 hours, and I don't charge for it. So it pays for that as well. So it's just my personal opinion, but it's a completely different approach maybe. And it's also, my add-ons are super complex. They're not just, you can't just write that in like a couple of weeks. It's constantly like, it's very complex work, So maybe an exception, but it is I think this is still a valid kind of thing. And then if you were to write a very small add-on that's very useful, let's say for Firefox there was a download helper add-on. I know the add-on developer personally. I think it was Down Them All. And he had a team of 3 people, and that was a huge success. It had 100,000 of people, and they were just living off donations. So you can live off donations as well, but you have to scale it very big. So you need at least, I'd say, 20 to 50,000 users, which is very hard to get to. So for me personally, that doesn't work, and I wouldn't put the amount of work in it if I hadn't got the chance to monetize it myself. There's a lot of like pitfalls with it, but it's too much of a discussion. We could have a whole panel on it. Anyway, that's all I want to say on that topic.
Thank you for your experience.
Yeah, I just want to say I think that's a discussion worth having, and I think that I think maybe we should find the time to have a discussion just about that, because it's I've seen a monetization model starting to develop over the last few years with like Linux app centers, like App Center for Everyone. And I think at some point Canonical was talking about the ability maybe for snaps to be monetized. I'm not sure if that's, but
doesn't Elementary have that where people?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's App
Elementary
Center.
pioneered
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
App Center for Everyone, they pioneered it. And I like personally, I'm not speaking for Thunderbird, but I think that that's a great idea to be able to give those monetization tools to developers, and give them that extra helping hand to help them make that development time more worthwhile and more valuable. That's all. I think it's a great discussion to have.
I wanted to say one more thing, and it's not on monetization, but I totally agree with John. You should write your add-on for yourself, or as I would say, eat your own dog food. That means that if you don't use your add-on every day, then you're not as invested as if you are using it and you use it to achieve a goal. So I'm number one user, even though I have 10,000 other users, and I will suffer if my add-on doesn't work. So I will suffer first, and that's a good thing.
I would like to respond to the monetization issue. That's a decision the add-on developer can take. But then it is his own decision that he puts much more meaning and much more effort behind his add-on. But the majority of our add-on developers is not monetizing. And they have to be protected from this burnout, which can happen if they are not pulling away from user requests. But I fully agree that add-ons should be able to monetize. And if Jason remembers, I put that on the slide on the All Hands as a thing we want to do. And we are also already in discussion with certain people. There are a lot of technical things we have to change, because monetization doesn't work without signing add-ons, for example. So we all need all of that infrastructure first before we can land this. And of course, there's a lot of legal activity in the background, which comes to a processing service to get all this on the Thunderbird phase. Axel has implemented all of this on his own, the licensing mechanism, but he doesn't face any legal issues because he's the only one using it. But if we provide something to a broader community which is related to money, then you really have to be careful.
Well, yeah, I think this is a very deep subject, but we're about out of time. So I wanted to pass it over to Roland. I know he's got a few words, but I guess first I wanted to say, John, thank you so much for your time to answer all of these important questions.
And And I just wanted to apologize for the intrusions that we had. I don't know. That's never happened before. I don't know where they came from. I had to delete the posts from
Mhm.
Twitter and Mastodon because I suspect they were coming from there.
Right.
But we'll be talking about that afterwards, and we'll definitely
Right.
try to avoid that in the future because that was
Yeah.
mortifying.
Thanks for the quick action, Jason. That was amazing.
And thank you everybody for attending that was here kind of in good faith and the good questions, the good discussion. Really value your time. So
The benefit was well worth putting up with a little shenanigans.
thanks. Yes.
You're so right.
I guess that we've made it if we're worth bothering. So
True. Success condition, something.
So Roland, a few quick words.
Hi, yeah. Thank you, Axel. And thank you, John, and everyone else in Thilo who contributed, just because I work with the non-coding contributors in support. I'm the support lead. Again, I did this previously, 2009 to 2012, as maybe Axel remembers. And I don't know if Thilo was around then. I don't know if John was around then. I never really talked to the coding contributors. But yeah, I'm just going to do shout outs at every office hours, and this is the first. So Microsoft OAuth authentication and Thunderbird article that we just revised was greatly helped by Marcello Gilman, Mozinet, aka Pierre, who's been around forever. I think Marcello's been around forever. I don't know how to pronounce his name. I'm not Italian. Mozinet is Pierre. I think I've actually met him. Chris T1, also been around forever since the 2009 days for sure. So yeah, Microsoft and their shenanigans, but I want to shout out to Microsoft because they are reaching out to us, and hopefully we can work with them and prevent these sort of things from happening. But it is an OAuth/normal password fluctuation in the Microsoft email universe that those contributors worked on. The second thing I'd like to shout out for is the whole Mac OS settings versus preferences nuances that we've went through this week. Alice Wyman, who has been around forever. Thank you, Alice. Micro in Italy. Is he Italian? I'm pretty sure he is. Also been around forever. But basically, in Mac OS Ventura, Apple forced Thunderbird and Firefox to show settings instead of the traditional Mac OS preferences. This is super confusing because Thunderbird is therefore, since Thunderbird 102, Thunderbird has shown settings. But Firefox in older versions of Mac OS, before Apple forced it to be settings, showed preferences. So these are the kind of nuanced things. It can be just as difficult to write documentation as it can be to do code. In the end, I think code is actually harder. But it's not a question of hard or better. It's a question of doing the job. And I hats off to the volunteers for doing the work. I don't know of any volunteers who have done support forum answering and support knowledge base writing and translating who have done the jump to Axel's paid business model. Hats off to you, Axel, for being the exception that proves the rule, and hopefully there'll be more exceptions, because I think indies are golden. And so thanks to our volunteers, as it says in my thing. I feel like a YouTuber. TB volunteers rock. See, it's somewhere in the top left of my head there. That's the shout out. I hope to have some forum shout outs. There are many people I could shout out, but I will not today. And I'm sorry if I left you out. And do feel free to ping me, and I will gladly shout you out at the next office hours. Done.
Awesome.
Thanks, Roland.
Thank you, Roland.
Thanks, Roland. And so I think with that, guys, we're gonna, and gals and everybody, we're gonna stop the recording. And thanks again. Have
Bye.
a great rest of your day or night.
Thanks, everybody.
Ciao,
everyone,
cheers.
thank
See
you.
you.